The forest breathed, a living ancient thing. Twisted branches, gnarled fingers against the moon-touched sky. Shadows stretched, long and hungry, from the silent trees. The air hung heavy, thick with the musk of damp earth and decaying leaves. A place of secrets whispered on the wind. A flicker of movement, barely perceptible in the dense darkness of the forest. A tiny figure swallowed by the immensity of the woods, almost lost amidst the towering trees and the thick underbrush. The girl walked with small, hesitant steps, her form a fragile silhouette against the pale moonlight. Each step was careful, deliberate, as if the ground beneath her might give way at any moment. Her eyes, wide and luminous, darted nervously, reflecting the ghostly glow. They were filled with a mix of fear and determination, scanning the shadows for any sign of danger. In her arms, she clutched a small bundle held tight against her chest. It was precious, something she couldn't afford to lose, something that gave her the strength to keep moving forward, despite the overwhelming darkness. A twig snapped. The girl froze, her breath catching in her throat. Silence descended once more, heavy and absolute. Then a low growl, barely audible, drifted through the trees. Eyes glowing with an eerie light blinked open in the darkness. Shapes shifted, resolving into grotesque parodies of animals, their forms elongated and unsettlingly human. Section 4. The hunt begins. In the heart of the forest, where the moonlight barely pierced through the dense canopy, an unsettling silence reigned. The air was thick with anticipation. Every shadow seemed to hold a secret, every rustle a hidden danger. A low, guttural snarl ripped through the stillness. It was a sound that sent shivers down the spine, a primal warning that something dangerous lurked nearby. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. The creatures moved, their bodies fluid, gliding through the undergrowth with predatory grace. Their movements were almost hypnotic, a deadly dance in the moonlit darkness. Each step was calculated, each motion a testament to their hunting prowess. They circled, drawing closer, their glowing eyes never leaving the small figure of the girl. She stood frozen, her breath shallow, eyes wide with fear. The creature's eyes glowed with an eerie light, reflecting their hunger and intent. Their breath rose in steaming clouds, the scent of decay clinging to the air. The forest seemed to close in around them, the mist thickening, the atmosphere growing more oppressive. It was a night where the line between predator and prey was blurred and survival was uncertain. Section 5. Encircled by shadows, step by hesitant step, the girl retreated, her back pressed against the rough bark of a towering oak. The forest seemed to close in around her, the shadows growing longer and darker with each passing moment. She could hear the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl, but these familiar sounds offered no comfort. Instead, they only heightened her sense of isolation and fear. Her breath came in short, ragged gasps as she tried to steady herself, her eyes darting around in search of an escape. The bundle in her arms felt cold, a stark contrast to the heat radiating from the creatures that surrounded her. She clutched it tighter, as if it could somehow protect her from the encroaching darkness. The mist swirled around her feet, adding to the surreal and nightmarish quality of the scene. She could feel the presence of the creatures, their eyes boring into her, their breath hot and fetid on the back of her neck. The weight of the bundle seemed to grow heavier with each passing second, pulling her down into despair. They were close now, close enough for her to see the sharp gleam of their teeth, the way their inhuman fingers twitched with anticipation. The creatures moved with a predatory grace, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light. She could hear their low, guttural growls, a sound that sent shivers down her spine. The air was thick with tension, and she knew that any moment now they would pounce. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing like a drum in the stillness of the night. She closed her eyes, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. In that moment, she felt a profound sense of resignation, a realization that there was no escape from the fate that awaited her. The tear was a silent testament to her fear and sorrow. a final act of defiance against the darkness that sought to consume her. She could feel the creatures drawing ever closer, their presence a tangible force that pressed in on her from all sides. The forest held its breath. The world seemed to pause, as if waiting for the inevitable conclusion of this grim encounter. The trees stood as silent witnesses, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. The moon cast a pale, ghostly light over the scene, illuminating the girl's tear-streaked face and the shadowy figures that surrounded her. In that moment of stillness, time itself seemed to stretch, each second an eternity. The forest, the girl, and the creatures were all bound together in a macabre dance, a dance that could only end in darkness.